shortcomings. Help us to amend our impieties. May we learn to pattern our life through your Son's example. Father, bless our endeavors, especially today's meeting. Guide us in our discussions. Enlighten our minds in every decision that we make. Give us your courage and grace that we may effectively do our part as public servants. Bless our plans, programs, and projects so that we may achieve our objectives for your greater glory. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
United architects of the Philippines agree, sworn to uphold our profession's dignity. Ours is to create, to design and plan, build a shelter for the family of man. As architects we build with artistry and vision, with humble hearts of vision and dedication. Combine in strength, utility, and beauty, in a simple house of complexity. One in heart and one in soul. One for one and one for all. These architects are the symbols of greatness, loyal to the UAP. We pledge to ourselves to serve our country with a fervent work, so let us all be architects with a Philippine soul.
I shall work with this general objective, that I am accountable to God, to Mother Earth, to my country, to my fellow men, and to myself. I shall uphold the ideals and follow the norms and ethical conduct of this noble profession. I shall pursue moral and professional excellence to the utmost level of integrity through industrious dedication and meaningful application to my work that merits a reputation for quality of services worthy of fair remuneration. I shall pledge myself to the highest standard of professionalism in relation to clients, colleagues, industry partners, and society. I shall dedicate myself to the pursuit of creative endeavor towards the goal of enlightened art and science, generously sharing it. I shall respect the rights and works of my colleagues in the profession and confine my comments to constructive intents. I shall endeavor to do my duty in the protection of our common environments and the preservation of architectural heritage for the sake of the present and future generations. So help me God.
Ayan, we could all turn on your cameras now. And welcome to our second GMM. Okay, on po natin lahat. Hello and good evening. I hope everyone is safe. And I'd like to call on, I think okay naman na si our secretary, Ariel. Are you good?
Wait lang po, ma'am.
Okay. So again, thank you for coming sa ating second GMM. We have a very interesting talk tonight with Allene. Hindi ko daw pala siya pwedeng tawagin doktor kasi it's more of it's more, ang talk natin ngayon is about work from home, mental health. It's really helpful. Nakita ko yung mga slides. It's very informative. And I hope that you guys learn something for tonight. Kung may mga questions kayo later on, the group chat is available. So kung titignan niyo yung natin, there's a chat option there, and then there's a reaction button din kung gusto niyo mag-clap or thumbs up for And I'd like to thank Boysen, our principal sponsor for this whole fiscal year. So heads up to everyone. And Ariel, okay ka na? And then we'll wait also for our speaker. She'll be here in 6:15 pa. Meron pa. Sabi ko kahit 6:15 na siya pumasok. So we'll start off Architect Ariel Swalog, our secretary, to acknowledge our members present here tonight. So take it away, Ariel.
Thank you, Ma'am Dale. Good morning to good evening to everyone. I would like to acknowledge our members present for this evening, which are Architect Madukdok, Architect Olowan, Architect Marzan, Architect Vicente, Architect Mendoza, Architect Banyares, Architect Vindua, Architect Herrera, Architect Riliera, Architect Lee Sherwin, Architect Laron, Architect Concepcion, Architect Rito Malta, Architect Cornell, Architect Isit, Architect Mariano, Architect Rebosa, Architect Mapalo, Architect Canilang, Architect Bognadon, Architect Rimando, Architect Tamayo, Architect Nagayko, Architect Umhaw, Architect Huab, Architect Ocampo Inca, Architect Hardinil Valdez, Architect Chukuen, Architect Ordonio, Architect Canilang, Architect Bognadon, Architect Riman, Architect Tamayo, Architect Nagoyko, Architect Mendoza, Architect Rodriguez, Architect Rodelas, Architect Angangan, Architect Mendoza Gladys, Architect Benzon Marie, Architect Villanueva, Architect Benzon, Architect LaGuardia, Architect Bagayo, Architect Umhaw, and to our officers present. Good evening to everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, papasok pa lang si ating guest speaker for tonight. Wait lang ah. But we are live also on Facebook. So yung mga naka-on na cameras, ngayon siya ang nagre-record and nakikita ng ating ano. You could actually check it right now. UAP Baguio City Chapter. And then all our resources are on our website, uapbcc.card, CARRD.com. Ayan, sunata to. Ayun, no. So we have our guest speaker now. I'm also your operator pala, just so everyone knows. Yes. If we could mute din also kung ano. Allene, are you okay na? Hello? Teka lang yes, hello?
Okay.
Yay, hello, good evening.
Good
All the way
evening.
from Las Piñas.
Okay, I will just start reading. Okay. Hello.
So, we'll introduce you first, Allene.
Okay.
I'll spotlight you right now for everyone to see. Hello, this is Allene Allanigue, our guest speaker for tonight. Could we give her a round of a virtual applause? So I would like to formally introduce her before starting her talk. So Allene Allanigue is a registered psychometrician and a graduate Master of Science in Clinical Psychology at De La Salle University. She has worked in the corporate planning division of an IT company in Ortigas, Pasig City, and has taught general education and different psychology subjects in Cavite and Manila campuses of the Lyceum of the Philippines University. Currently, she works with psychologists in private practices in conducting psychological assessment and psychotherapy work. She also co-manages their family-run private clinic and laboratory located in Las Piñas and Parañaque City. So, all the way from Las Piñas, let's all welcome Allene Allanigue. Hello, Allene.
Okay. Clear naman din yung audio. Is it clear?
Is it clear for everyone? Or siguro louder lang ng konti?
Louder na lang.
Yeah.
Okay. I will share the PowerPoint.
Yes, naka-co-host ka naman na din. So,
Wait. What ito? Wait lang. Where do I find yung share
screen.
Share
you
screen pero
dapat naka-open na yung PowerPoint mo.
okay, wait.
Okay.
Is it showing na?
Not yet on me. Is it showing sa ano? Wait lang pala. Yeah. We could share naman. Naka-set na din. Just in case, sinave ko din yung binigay mo sa akin.
May inedit kasi ako na one slide eh.
Okay.
Okay. Still not sharing ba? Still not viewable?
Is it ano ba sa lahat?
Or no?
Yeah.
Okay, wait lang. Yung share screen sa baba, it only has yung one participant can share at a time and multiple participants can share simultaneously, pero I cannot find yung option. Okay, wait.
Yan. Okay na,
Okay
Allene.
na. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank Ms. Carissa for inviting me to talk about coping during the pandemic on mental health, especially because there is actually a rise of people seeking for help on that are now experiencing psychological or mental health problems, not necessarily disorder, but they have been experiencing a lot of depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms, and even sometimes post-traumatic stress for COVID-19 recoveries. So I think this topic is very important to be discussed. I would also like to discuss first about mental health and the mental health continuum. So these will be the topics that I will be talking about. General coping skills relating to COVID-19 and coping with COVID-19 related fear and anxiety, since these two are some of the most people seek help for, and also dealing with work from home setup, and also some strategies how to be resilient or how to foster our resilience. Okay, so how is mental health defined? In the Philippines, although there is more mental health literacy nowadays than compared to, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, still mental health is not as talked about, let's say, in a group of family or group of friends. Parang we talk about mental health usually just in schools or if there is a seminar like this. So I would like first to define ano ba yung what is mental health. In emphasizing mental health, you will see I've highlighted the underlined words, yung coping with normal stresses of life. So this means for the daily stresses like work or in school or in daily stressors na tinatawag natin, it is something, if we have good mental health or if we have mental health, we can easily adapt to these maybe not so small little things, but the daily struggles that we face. That is basically mental health. So we can think wise, or we can think we have good judgment basically of things. We can adjust emotionally, and also our behavioral responses to these stressors, we can handle them well or with minimal, let's say, minimal support from other people. You okay? This the WHO definition. This is also the one that is being used in the Mental Health Act. The Mental Health Act, although hindi pa masyado clear yung IRR niya, but it's still on process, meaning gusto nila ipagtibay yung how to seek professional help in the Philippines, how to seek or how to provide mental health. I will discuss more about yung professionals, how or to whom can you seek for help. And seems, if you can see, similar lang din yung definition halos ng World Health Organization and American Psychiatric Association, because in the world, we usually just follow whatever is said by the American Psychiatric Association. So this mental health continuum, I think this is a very good example and very simple how to educate about mental health. Kasi ang daming nowadays nagsasabi, or baka depressed na ako, or baka na-anxiety ako, etc. We have to acknowledge na mental health is actually a spectrum rather than you have it or you don't have it. Sometimes even mentally healthy individuals can experience some degrees of mental health problems, but it doesn't mean na they already have a disorder. So if you will see, maybe you can try to also assess yourself. Am I mentally healthy, or am I mentally healthy with some mental health issues, mental health problems? Or am I mentally healthy na merong na maybe leading to mental disorder already? So ano ba yung what comprises these classifications ba? So for mentally healthy, of course, generally happy and content with their lives. being able to form and maintain relationships with others, skilled at problem solving and tackling life challenges, able to cope with most stressors and negative emotions encountered. I would also like to emphasize yung generally happy and content with life. This is just generally kasi, for example, if sumobra naman, like sobrang saya or na hindi na normal, so that is not mentally healthy. Kahit na happy ka, but it's leaning towards the super end of the spectrum. Maybe that is also a mental disorder which is experienced in people with, let's say, bipolar in the manic phase. Ayun yung kabaliktaran ng depressive symptoms. So pag mental health problem naman, suffer from moderate or temporary symptoms of depression or anxiety. Ibig sabihin, they may experience some symptoms but it will not account yet sa complete diagnosis. Of course, especially now, we are all experiencing the effects of the pandemic, not only fear of for our life, fear of the lives of our loved ones, pati yung impacts niya sa economy, sa society, etc. We can't help but feel sad about it or depressed about it, anxious about it. So we can say na these are actually normal responses to what is happening right now. If you are feeling some degree of symptoms of depression, that is normal right now. In this context now, we are all suffering from the effects of the pandemic. Also may experience stress in daily lives but not know how to handle it. The stress may lead to negative symptoms. Okay. Minsan, I've been hearing a lot of people say na they won't seek help yet kasi kaya pa naman daw nila. Or so ang idea is it's somehow similar to physical or medical conditions na hangga't hindi malala, hindi mo na sila magpapatingin. Also, there is an attached stigma din sa seeking help. But since, although this is not really good to hear, but the pandemic situation is also an opportunity to educate about mental health. And for the mental disorders, of course, there are a lot of many different mental disorders ranging from depression to anxiety to even psychotic na like schizophrenia where they see hallucinations or hear hallucinations. So yung mga mental disorders, I will not touch in depth with that kasi we're trying to focus on how to cope and also in the normal population naman. Okay, I would also like to emphasize on this slide na a person can fluctuate on the continuum depending on internal or external circumstances. Ibig sabihin, kapag may malaking stressor, it can impact yung mental health natin. Although some people are more resilient than others, I will also explain that later kung bakit nagkakaiba yung pag-respond natin sa similar stressor. For example, we are all experiencing COVID-19, but why do some people can cope on their own? Why do some people need other people or need professional help, need more serious attention? I would like to share yung mental health continuum. I think this is a very good graph or chart about the continuum. If you will see, there are 6 domains. In mental health, usually, these 6 domains are affected. Mood, attitude, sleep. For example, if someone is experiencing depression, one of the symptoms are actually hypersomnia or insomnia. Although in cases of depression, most common na insomnia yung nagma-manifest na symptom. Similarly, if you're experiencing sleep problems, it may also lead to depressive symptoms kasi anything that is psychological can also be physical or biological. Kasi ayun yung sleep and sleep affects mood a lot. So if you can read this one, maybe you can also assess yourself kung nasaan ka banda. For the healthy and reacting types, mostly self-care and social support would be sufficient. For the injured and ill mental health, they would need more than that, which is professional care. Sometimes they needed um, to be inpatient, to be admitted in a facility or an institution. So usually yung mga nasa ill cases na ito na yung talagang um, mga persons like schizophrenia na nagmamanifest na talaga ng mga delusions or hallucinations na may nakikita na hindi dapat nakikita or naririnig na wala naman talaga. Okay. So if you see mood, for normal functioning, may mga distinction siya. Normal mood fluctuations. For reacting is being irritable or impatient, being nervous, being sad, or overwhelmed. One of the symptoms ng depression na nagmamanifest din sa mood, it's not always being a low mood. Sometimes irritability is also an indicator na pwedeng it is a depressive symptom. Kung may nakita ko na bakit sobrang irritable niya na nag-outburst. So it can also be an indication of depression. Not saying na that is depression, but it may be one of the symptoms of depression. For injured, they're easily angered or anxiety, pervasive sadness or hopelessness. Pag pervasive, it is long-lasting. Okay? For example, namatayan ng pet, or for example, yung dog namatay. And it take him 2 years bago maka-move on from that, or 2 years na depressed pa din siya. So that is not, kumbaga, yung hindi siya maka-move on agad or hindi siya, what's the term? Yung stressor, let's say yung trigger or yung stressor na pagkamatay ng aso and yung how he responded to that event, hindi siya proportionate. Sobra yung reaction sa stressor. Okay. Also in looking at mental health and mental disorders, tinitignan din yung duration. How long has been this person been like this? Has it been 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? Sometimes it can even exceed 4 years. For depression, mostly it's 2 weeks. Pag 2 weeks na and then similar symptoms na meet, still that may account, but still it needs professional assessment. Also for attitude, a good sense of humor. Actually, humor plays a lot in mental health, more than people realize. So if it won't fix everything, but if you feel down, you can watch a comedy movie or something that has humor. You can find memes on the internet, because humor is actually a coping strategy too. And expressing displays sarcasm, procrastination, forgetfulness. Okay. Negative attitude for injured. And for this one, excessive. Ibig sabihin, they're not in control of their emotions and their attitudes anymore. And this one, sleep. This is very important, more than people realize. Not only yung medical, kasi they also found sleep deprivation as correlation to the risk of getting cancer. Although the study was not able to find a causation, ibig sabihin, hindi siya, dahil nagpuyat ka, makaka-cancer ka. Pero they found a correlation, ibig sabihin, a lot of cancer patients also were engaging in sleep deprivation. That is why yung mga nag-work sa call center, di ba iba yung sleep patterns nila, that is really a hazard for them, yung ganong structure ng work. And also there are a lot of call centers seeking help, psychological help, and a lot of their concern is really about sleep. Okay, for the reacting, having trouble sleeping, intrusive thoughts, having nightmares, injured, restless or disturbed sleep, inability, and for ill, the inability or sleeping too much or too little, which is in the case of insomnia sometimes, yung mga pathological cases or clinical cases na. Pag sinabing insomnia, it is the difficulty to fall asleep and to maintain sleep. So ibig sabihin, even if they fell asleep, yung tulog quality of sleep nila is not really good. Also, physical health can be affected then. If you will notice, sometimes yung mga depressed people or mga iba din yung kilos nila, iba yung how they react, iba yung how they register things in their head. Kasi if it's also affected, yung brain nila is affected, which is also controlling some parts of the body. For activity, dito na you will notice how some people will tend to isolate. Of course, now isolation is normal kasi we're all suffering from, or we're all taking precautions on COVID-19. Pero if you find people na they don't want to talk at all and it's been 2 weeks or 2 months, that's social withdrawal already, and maybe also an indicator of underlying mental issues. For habits, this is some people will actually engage in alcoholism because of stress. So sinasabi nila na even drugs, sometimes they will actually, in some studies, alcoholism there is always more than maybe or always found to be correlated with other mental issues like depression or anxiety. Sometimes even for people with ADHD, para they can control yung focus and attention nila, they have to engage in using drugs. There are a lot of people na using alcohol and drugs to deal with other underlying mental illness or issues. And of course, it doesn't help kasi maybe it will help just on the that short period, but in the long run, it's not really helpful in the body and also in the brain. Okay, maybe in this chart, you can also find, you can also assess yourself. Saan na ba ako dito? Am I still physically and socially active, or did I decrease yung activity ko, but I can still manage? So those things are still okay. But if you happen to fall in the injured, majority of you can see yourself in the injured, maybe you can also already try to seek for professional help. I will discuss later sino ba yung mga dapat takbuhan if there are mental issues that need to be addressed. Okay. So, so ano ba yung kailangan na gawin if you are suffering from these things? What are the actions to take at each phase of the continuum? For normal functioning, focus on task at hand because they can manage things better. Let's say they're more resilient than other people experiencing some issues. They can break problems into manageable chunks. Identify and nurture support systems. So yung mga support systems, ano ba to? Ito yung families or circle of friends, and maintain healthy lifestyle. Of course, there will be no mental health kung physically hindi naman din healthy, or there will be no physical health if you're not mentally healthy. For reacting, you should recognize limits. I will be discussing more on the strategies later kung paano ba siya, ano yung mga dapat gawin. Okay, recognize limits. Ibig sabihin, alamin mo yung mga nag-trigger sa'yo, what are your triggers. And as much as possible, try not to expose yourself on these triggers or stressors. Identify, minimize stressors, engage in healthy coping strategies, and get adequate food, rest, and exercise. In getting a good sleep, sleep hygiene is very important. one technique that or one recommendation people always say or professionals always say is maintain a maintain a sleep pattern, a consistent sleep pattern. Let's say you sleep at 11 and then you count 8 hours and then wake up at the same exact hour. So it's sleeping and waking up at the exact same time consistently. So you don't need to nap in the afternoon kasi that will disrupt again yung circadian rhythm mo, yung sleep-wake cycle. So it's trying to fix or get a fixed hours of sleep. For example, you sleep at 11, wake up at 7. So every day you will do that, 11 to 7. Okay. So for the injured, identify and understand own signs of distress. Sometimes hindi lang malaman ng mga tao what is causing this distress, why are they depressed, ano yung nakakapagpa-anxious sa kanila. And they just jump to depressed ako, but they do not really explore bakit ba ako nade-depress. So it's important to actually explore bakit and because in exploring that rather than saying na depressed ako, parang it's not really helping on addressing your needs or what should be done. So seek social support and talk with someone instead of withdrawing, seek help. So for professional care, seek consultation with professionals and other follow yung mga health routines or mga recommendations and regain physical health. So one important thing here is actually exercising. But it is difficult to, for example, like go to the gym now. I think all gyms are closed. Even if you do jog every day, it may also be we have our limits now. But there are also other things that you can do like downloading exercise apps or maybe watching YouTube exercise videos. Okay, I would also like to talk about this a little bit more. We have a psychological theory, diathesis stress model. So in this model, we are trying to explain ano yung or how does one lead to have a disorder. Okay, diathesis is yung predisposition. Ibig sabihin it is something that is maybe inborn or genetics. That's why when we see patients sometimes or when we assess people, we always ask, do you have anyone in your family who has a history of depression or schizophrenia or other mental illness? So in this COPS, the D is the diathesis or the predisposition, something that is already innate in the person. And stress is the environmental factors or what we call stressors. So for example, in these two cups, even if they have the same amount of stress, one person will not be or will not lead to having a mental disorder because predisposition wise, they have low predisposition to it. Ibig sabihin, they are more healthy genetically than other people. While some people who has more predisposition to it will have tendency or bigger at risk to have a mental illness or mental disorder. So ito lang, this one will answer, bakit pareho lang naman tayo pinagdadaanan? Bakit ikaw nakaka-move forward and me, I'm stuck here? Maybe because it's the predisposition. Although this one is very helpful in explaining that, but this does not explain all because there are also some factors like social support. Maybe some people does not have strong social support than others, and they do not have other protective factors na can help them cope with the daily stressors or big stressors. Okay, I think I will have to skip this one. let's go now to coping. Okay, coping refers to behavioral and cognitive efforts. Ibig sabihin, when we cope, we do coping is in this coping has a lot to do with actually predisposition to, but it also has a lot to do with how we are brought up, how we are conditioned to do some things, how we are conditioned to cope, or how we are conditioned to just accept whatever. So this is in how we deal with stressful situations. Sometimes you will find yourself eating your favorite food when you're stressed. Okay, that is a coping strategy too. But sometimes it also lead to let's say obesity, which may also be a problem. So that kind of coping maybe needs to be moderated kasi anything that is not moderated might have harmful effects. So coping strategies vary by region, by community, etc., gender, age, season, and time in history. For example, for older people, they have a very different coping strategies than children, let's say. Um, for example, children will tend to play more when faced with a, let's say, traumatic experience. For example, during Yolanda, that is a big disaster that killed thousands of people. They will get angry at the children. Why are you playing? Dapat ganto, ganto, namatayan tayo, ganyan, ganyan. But they do not realize that that is actually the how children cope through play, and you cannot really take playing away from them kasi that is how they really cope with um these stressful experiences. Also, they are deeply influenced by people's previous experiences. So when you are trying to cope with something that maybe you have also experienced before, think way back, how did you cope before? Is it still useful? If it's still useful, then you can still use the same coping mechanism you used before. If it's not, coping naman is always dynamic. It can change depending on the person. So I grouped general coping skills, meaning this can be done even without the pandemic, or especially now that we're experiencing the pandemic. In coping, it's not just important to think right or to feel right, because actually these four things are interconnected. So, for example, you can really manage your emotions, but you lack sleep. That automatically will affect your emotional coping. Kasi sleep is really very important. Or you cannot also expect people who cannot eat 3 meals a day to be objective about all this pandemic kasi nga they do not have enough food, or they do not have enough nutrients to supply yung brain nila. Okay? And exercise 3 days per week. So since nga medyo limited tayo in this area because we cannot leave the house, there are other alternatives like exercise apps or watching YouTube. Sometimes there are TikTok videos, or even maybe may mga Facebook friends tayo na nagla-live ng exercise nila. You can also try that. Okay, for emotional, expressing yourself and talking with family and friends. Actually, talking about it is really helpful, more because a lot of people do not talk, especially male population. That's why a lot of them suffer more because they do not talk about these things. Validating and supporting others when you are trying to share to other people, when you feel validated, that also helps. In the same way, when some people are sharing to you their struggles, it may be also your turn to validate yung struggles nila. Okay? Because sometimes it's not really what you tell to people, but it's more how you tell them or how you make them feel. Because I hear a lot of people ask, ano ba yung sasabihin mo kapag depressed yung tao? Or anong sasabihin mo pag na-anxious yung tao? But it's not, maybe that is also important, but I think it's more important is how you say it and how you make them feel. Okay. Monitoring your feelings throughout the day. In some therapy activities, nagbibigay sila ng mga daily journals, parang i-rate nila, okay, how on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm 9 happy. May mga ganong activities. So maybe you can also practice that na, okay, I feel angry right now because somebody did this to me. So it's monitoring your feelings throughout the day and also being aware why you are feeling that way. Because minsan, galit ka lang, gusto mo ilabas without really thinking, kasi when we act on something or when we act on anger, we tend to hurt other people. And when we tend to hurt other people, parang pinas mo lang sa kanila yung issues mo or sila yung napagbuntunan mo, which is not really, it may be helpful for your mental health for releasing it, but that's not the right thing to do. Okay. Engaging in self-compassion and setting limits. Actually, self-compassion is also self-care. It's giving patience to yourself. For example, if you are trying to do something and you fail at it the first time, you tell yourself na okay lang yan, I will just do it again. So it's generally just being kinder to yourself because a lot of people are not really kind to themselves. And setting limits. Ano lang yung kaya mo, being realistic about things. And also setting limits with other people. I will discuss more about this pagdating na sa mga coping strategies on fear and anxiety. For cognitive is the brain or thinking patterns. So you have to recognize when your thinking is being influenced by your emotional state. Before, they used to theorize na what you think will affect what you feel. But throughout the studies and throughout even practice or in daily experiences, you will find yourself na it doesn't have to come from thinking first and sometimes feeling agad. And sometimes, yung feeling pa ang nakaka-affect ng thinking. So we have to, this is being more objective because when we become emotional, then our thinking might be impaired or our judgment. Avoid black and white thinking. This happens a lot. Black and white thinking is when you parang dichotomous lang lahat. It's either yes or no, good or bad. So kapag against sa'yo, galit sila lahat sa'yo. So, it's black and white thinking na it's either two things lang, dichotomous lang. Another thing related to this is yung catastrophizing things. Kapag maliit na bagay lang, pinapalaki mo na sa isip mo. And then, emotionally, you will be emotionally affected by that. For example, hindi lang nakapag-reply yung boss mo dahil work from home, hindi lang nakapag-reply. And then you will magnify that in your head na baka ayaw niya talaga akong replyan, baka ayaw niya sa akin, baka tanggalin na niya ako sa work. Okay? So that is maximizing agad, parang catastrophizing everything in your head. We should be aware of that because that is actually very common. So not giving into automatic thoughts that elicit negative emotions. Examples of automatic thoughts, yung black and white thinking and catastrophizing things. And also sometimes we take things personally na hindi naman talaga para sa atin. So why would we take things personally? Those can be automatic thoughts too. And recognizing when behavior is contributing to negative emotional states. Example of this, you feel anxious na, you fear for your safety, and then you check the news, which will elicit more fear and anxiety. Okay, a lot of this, some people will chat me on Facebook and ask, um, my sister is, or my sibling is experiencing, um, is napaparanoid na. The term is napaparanoid na. They keep checking whether they have COVID symptoms, and they will check online. And then kapag hindi na sila nag-check online, they will, parang andun yung intrusive thoughts na maybe this is COVID, so they will check online again. And then after searching, andun pa din yung intrusive thoughts, they will check again. So yung behavior na yon, it becomes repetitive. Okay? But it is actually yung compulsivity ng ano na yon. Sometimes we have to stop it. Kasi the more we do it, the more we will feed yung fear and anxiety. Now, we experience na nga, we will feed pa. I'm not saying na you should stop searching news, but later we will discuss more about that, how to regulate. And environmental, ito yung things around us, or mga social factors. Of course, you have to keep a clean and organized environment. Kasi kung halimbawang you are feeling depressed na nga, you are feeling anxious na nga, and you just let things pile up, mas mahirap yon. Or sometimes when people try to work at home, okay, and the environment is not clean or is not organized, halo-halo, or for example, you are working in your bedroom, you are working in your bed. So yung mga ganong instances, you have to find a way na yung work will not overlap with your home life or with your daily life outside work. So identify factors in our environment that are contributing to our stress and eliminate them if possible. For example, if social media just keeps on stressing you out, then maybe try to take a break or hide some friends that you do not want to see the post. Okay. Not saying na you unfriend them right away. Of course, that some things need to be dealt with maturely, but kapag parang these are just the first aid, ano ba yung mga pwede mong gawin if you cannot deal with them, talking to them yet, or dealing with things maturely yet, then these are the things that you can do. And change your environment if feeling too stressed out. Kapag nasa bahay ka lang, of course, you cannot leave the house, then maybe just try to go out of the door and just look at the sky. Parang change of view. Okay, so these things will not fix everything, but these things are the small things that you can do or you can change para yung impacts ng stress will be less, or it will help you cope. Okay, so now coping with COVID-19 related fear and anxiety. Okay, a lot of people having fear and anxiety right now, and that is explainable why. Of course, we have a reason to be scared, to be anxious about the things that are happening, not only about the pandemic, but also the country situation and what is happening everywhere in the world. So one is feelings of worry and unease can be expected following a stressful event. So these things that we are experiencing are normal in this context. So however, it is important that we learn to manage our stress before it overwhelms us, na mahirap nang makalabas doon. So in coping with COVID-19, of course, we have to check yung media. Constant media coverage about the coronavirus can keep us in a heightened state of anxiety. And being kept in the heightened state of anxiety is actually not very good, especially for our brain. Kasi our brain can only take so much anxiety. Kapag prolonged yon, it may lead to longer symptoms of anxiety, even to post-traumatic stress. Try to limit your related media exposure and instead seek out factual information from reliable and trusted sources. So we have to check kung ano lang yung do not rely on what your friends share on Facebook. Try to rely on more credible media sources or news. And also yung mga factual information. Kasi some posts are of parang fear mongering na they try to steer even more our anxieties related to this, making us feel that nobody is safe anymore. So we have to pause from reading those things and move towards ano ba yung mga media outlets that is more credible and more objective when they give their reports. Keeping things in perspective. So when we are stressed, it is easy to see things as worse as than they really are, rather than imagining the worst case scenario and worrying about it. Ask yourself instead. So am I getting ahead of myself, assuming something bad will happen when I really don't know the outcome? Am I overestimating how bad the consequences will be? So we have to remember, illness due to coronavirus infection is usually mild, and most people recover without needing specialized treatment. Okay, but we also have to acknowledge that this is not the case for everyone, because some people, the job calls for them to be exposed to these things, like our frontliners. But still, we have to put our mind, what can we do, or what is within our control. Because if we think about all the problems or all what people are going through, it parang it will weigh us down. So we have to think, ano lang ba yung control ko? Kung ano yung problema, for example, what our country is experiencing right now, ano lang ba yung degree ng control ko sa situation na yon? If it's not really within our situation, maybe it's time to step back a little bit and then focus on what you can do while you are coping. Or if you are the type who is outspoken about, for example, the country situation, and maybe you can also use that as a coping strategy if it does not give you more stress, because sometimes people find meaning in these things, and meaning is actually a protective factor um against mental health issues. And am I underestimating my ability to cope? Sometimes thinking about how you would cope even if the worst were to happen can help you put things into perspective. Actually, this was brought up in one of my classes before. My classmate asked my teacher about how do we be more cautious to people. And then my professor said, this was in graduate studies class. My professor said people are not as weak as you think they are, or people are not as broken as you think they are. So uh, I thought na yung perspective natin about how people are needs to also change, or maybe our perspective on ourselves needs to change on na maybe kaya ko naman talaga, or maybe this I'm just experiencing this now, but I can do something about it. Parang it's really owning what you are experiencing right now and taking measures how to help yourself. Okay, because even if people help you, if you do not have the willingness to help yourself, it's really difficult to cope. So take reasonable precautions. For this one, yung pag-take ng precautions it's not only helpful in keeping yourself physically safe. Also, if you take precautions, it also parang it gives you a sense of psychological safety, na safe ako kasi nag-alcohol ako lagi, or safe ako kasi nagwawash ako ng hands as frequent as I can. So parang yung psychological effects ng pag-take ng precautions can also help you feel a sense of psychological safety. Even in the family, if you know that everyone who leaves the house wears face mask and face shield, then it gives you more feeling of safety. So this one, we hear this every day since March, since nag-start yung pandemic in the Philippines. So wash your hands, avoid touching eyes, nose, mouth. The acronym for this that the doctor say is MEN, avoid touching men, mouth, eyes, nose. Stay at home if you begin to feel unwell until you fully recover. And seek medical care early if you have a fever, cough, or experience breathing difficulties. But you also need to adhere dun sa mga protocols ng mga hospitals or ng mga government or local government protocols on seeking help kapag may COVID-like symptoms na experience. Of course, practice self-care. Self-care is parang medyo trendy word to ngayon. We hear this a lot on social media. You delete someone, you call that self-care. Or you unfriend someone, you call that self-care. Pero ano ba yung practicing self-care? So maybe this is the more mature way how to practice self-care. So help encourage a positive frame of mind. Okay, it is important to look after yourself. Everybody practices self-care differently. So here are some examples. So maintaining good social connections and communicating openly with family and friends, especially for AB extroverts. There has been studies na conducted na they were trying to know kung yung social interactions ba has decreased after or during the pandemic, and they found na yung social interactions did not really decrease. Maybe sa sample population lang na yon, but it is a really wide sample population. So ibig sabihin, even if there is a pandemic, we all feel socially connected through social media. Making time for activities and hobbies you enjoy, whatever it is, make time for yourself in doing that. So keeping up a healthy lifestyle by eating a balanced diet. So I always keep stressing this, yung healthy lifestyle, because it's really important, not just for physical health, but also on mental health. Okay, practicing relaxation, meditation, and mindfulness to give your body a calm chance to settle and readjust to a calm state. I will be discussing this too later, maybe towards the end, yung meditation and mindfulness. This has some Buddhist origins, but it is practiced a lot in mental health nowadays by professionals. And they've been finding good results with this mindfulness and meditation practices. So another thing, I just found this online. This quote. So the quote says, you are not working from home. You are at your home during a crisis trying to work. So the one who posted this said that it's important to make that distinction because this is not really our choice to work from home. Parang we are put here. We are just trying to survive this, and we're trying to work while being at home. So what are the things that you have to do or to deal with the issues when working at home? So first of all, you have to minimize yung distractions. So in your house, just choose a workspace separated from household noises and activity. And also it's important to choose a workspace that is not your bed. Okay? Because dun pa lang, if you work on your bed, then you are even more overlapping yung work life and yung rest space mo dapat. You will find it hard to work and hard to sleep. Okay. Talk with family members to establish common quiet hours, break periods, as well as what circumstances warrant an interruption of work time. So for example, some of your family members are also working from home. Maybe try to do a schedule na sabay-sabay kayo, okay, 8 o'clock, lahat tayo mag-work na. Kasi if you, parang it will establish more a routine work because work at home should also be a routine para hindi siya mag-overlap sa daily life mo outside work. Kasi home is supposed to be where you have to rest, where you have to recharge. So putting this boundaries, ano yung work, ano yung work time, ano yung dapat hindi na work time, it's very important. Also, if you have maybe wife or husband, maybe also talk about sino yung mag-aalaga sa baby or sa children kapag nag-work yung isa para hindi na i-interrupt. Parang the rule is try as much as possible to maintain that routine that you had when you were still working in your office and try to apply that at home. So create news and information free times to disconnect from the crisis and recharge. Kapag work time, as much as possible, try not to check um, news. Okay, because it should be work time and also it should not distract you from doing your work. Kasi if you see again this news that makes you angry, makes you depressed, then it will affect you emotionally, which may also affect your work. So as much as possible, just minimize yung checking when you are working. So spend a few minutes at the start of each day thinking about why the work you're doing matters to your clients, workers, and your organization. So when you wake up, this is a good parang you're introducing yourself to the day. Parang today is I will do this. I need to do this because this work is important. Many people will benefit from this. So those things na parang self what we call this self positive parang self positive self talk, which also people needs to cultivate a lot positive self talk. So if this, when you do this, you are already trying to condition yourself on what you need to do and why you are doing these things. Okay. Work can be a respite from the ongoing disruption in their lives and a way for them to feel a sense of control. That's why I've been saying that you have to maintain that routine that you were doing when you were still in the office. Okay? Kasi having that routine still gives you a sense of control na this was what I was doing when there was no pandemic and this is still what I can do. Okay? Parang I am still in charge. So that gives you a more control or idea or sense of control. So for those juggling work and childcare responsibilities, communicate these challenges to colleagues and supervisors. Okay? Carving out times when distractions are minimal. Basically, you have to keep your communications open to your colleagues and supervisors, and especially to your supervisors when you are dealing with things at home, so that they will understand why maybe you cannot submit this yet or follow the deadlines as it should be. Okay, because these are very valid issues at home. Okay, and if you do not communicate this, then you are not helping yourself. Okay, and for example, if you are the supervisor, then maybe it's really recommended that you make yourself available and open for these concerns, or maybe try to be more empathetic though. Maybe try to talk to the managers about what your subordinates are experiencing. So parang on this way, you are not just helping your subordinates or your colleagues, you are also fostering a positive relationship among or positive atmosphere among the workplace, even though it's at home, pero yung social interaction among the colleagues will be positive. They feel supported, they feel heard, they feel validated. Okay, it's also important to set goals. In setting goals, you have to identify what are the tasks that needs to be accomplished today or this week or this month. Maybe make a schedule of what are the deadlines for the next month or the next few weeks. Work with the manager to establish objectives when needed or consider sharing those goals with co-workers or family members. So this is also a technique that is recommended to do, because if you share na, for example, oh, I will submit this project tomorrow, if you tell that to people, that makes you feel more accountable na I really need to do this because I told people that I will do this, or I told people that I will submit this. So it's like making public commitments to others about what you will accomplish that day helps you hold accountable and helps you keep yourself on track. Also set boundaries. Set boundaries. Studies show that remote workers tend to log more hours than their office-based counterparts. So this is another concern. Ibig sabihin, if you go to, when you were still working, you work on an average 8 hours a day. But for most people who work at home, they tend to work more hours than 8 hours a day because nag-overlap na yung work and work and life or home life. So what you need to do is actually really set a schedule. When are you only going to work to what hour? Because if you keep just doing your work any time of the day that you want, it's not helpful for you in the long run. You are just parang dimming pa yung boundary between work and your family life at home. So for example, if you were working 8 to 5, then make sure at home you're only working 8 to 5, or it depends to you, but you should know when you need to stop. Okay, when you're working from an office, there's a natural start and stop time, like in badge in, badge out. So for remote work, there is no such thing. So it's really up to you to make that boundary, or to make that commitment to yourself that I will only work for this time. And once my work hours is done for the day, then I have to live my life at home. Okay, aim to stick to the same schedule each day, and if possible, stop checking messages and emails when your workday ends. Okay. Also for maybe for the bosses, I don't know if there are bosses in this Zoom meeting. Maybe also do not email or chat your subordinates when it's not work time anymore. Or maybe you can, but you can also say na this is not urgent, so just reply to me whenever you can. Okay. Because as much as possible, we need to stick to the same routine. Make a communication plan. Both employees and managers should be proactive in communicating about performance expectations and any difficulties that arise. Okay. Maybe also we live in the Philippines, and internet connection is not that stable here. So small things like that should be communicated to who you are reporting to at work. Create a plan for the frequency and mode of communication between colleagues. Work out specific arrangements for when and how communication will allow to flow. Okay, it's also important if you are trying to do a fixed work schedule even at home. It's maybe also recommended to make or set a fixed time for this type of communications, like doing video calls or doing chat groups, of chat messages, chat groups, group chats, because this will also set your employees or you na this time we have to talk. Okay, and it gives an opportunity to raise concerns, or maybe even to share yung mga personal what was happening in your life right now. Okay, parang it can also become an avenue to talk to somebody that is not in your house. If you're sharing information, reports, or analysis, email may be the best way to correspond. But if you're working with a team to make sense of complex shared information, schedule a phone call or video conference to discuss. Okay. Using synchronous media will likely be faster and less prone to misinterpretation. And also it saves a lot of time rather than going back and forth with the emails explaining things, then just call. Okay. Maybe what will take hours of back and forth on emails will just take 5-minute call or 5-minute video call. Okay, seek social connection. Stay connected to other coworkers, managers, and customers. Okay, provide a social and professional support system to each other so that the social fabric that occurs in the corporate workplace is somehow replicated as much as possible when working remotely. Provide opportunities for informal conversation during phone or video conferences so employees can continue to build healthy and supportive coworker relationships. And create a designated online messaging space for coronavirus related and other chatter, including news and office updates, personal stories, and requests for supplies or guidance. So aside from working from home as an individual, as an employee, it's also recommended that yung set up as a, for example, in the department or in the section you belong to, will somehow still be replicated even if you are working at home. For this one, I would like to discuss yung three C's of resilience. We hear a lot kapag may mga sakuna in the Philippines or flood, bagyo, na they always praise the Filipino spirit and parang bouncing back from the kung ano man tragedies yung na face ng Philippines. Okay, that is actually called resilience. Okay. Resilience is actually, it used to be bouncing back. Yung in Tagalog, yung parang pag-ahon. But if you really look at resilience, it's not really like that. It's more of being malleable. So kahit anong stressor yung iba to sa'yo, if you're resilient, then you can get through it or hindi ka masyado tatablan. But resilience is actually also parang it can be like a muscle that needs to be exercised. Okay, like for example, resilient ako ngayon, tomorrow hindi na. Or ayoko maging resilient bukas, ngayon lang. So it needs to be constantly practiced din kasi everything naman needs to be cultivated through practice. Okay. So in being resilient, it's not just about being positive. It's about acknowledging ano yung mga nangyayari, acknowledging the realities of life. And from there, trying to maintain the positive mind na we can get through this or you can get through this. So patterns of coping and resilience also come into play in managing emotional responses. Stress researchers have developed the 3Cs model to account for resilience in these situations. Yung stress researchers na to, they made this model na based on the respondents ng mga world tragedies like yung 9/11 bombing or floods sa ganitong country. So and they came up with this three, which is control, coherence, and connectedness. Kanina nababanggit ko na yung sense of control. So ano ba yung control? Control is reflected in the belief that personal resources can be accessed to achieve valued goals. Goals can be short or long term. So even in the short term, in the throes of epidemic, people can exert a measure of control by many means. Ano ba yung mga short term na you can do that will give you a sense of control? For example, cooking something or finishing your job today, that is a short-term goal. Or just taking your prescribed medications for the day. So anything that is in the routine that you can do successfully, also as much as possible, try to celebrate it. Yung mga tinatawag na small wins, try to celebrate it. Okay, keeping a diary of daily events, goals, and life lessons learned from adversity can also prove to be helpful. So while looking back, or although we are not yet through with this world situation, but so far, what have you learned? Okay, you can try to write them down. What have I learned, or what are my questions about this thing? And then try to reflect on the positive things without invalidating yung mga negative things. Because to be resilient, we need to accept both. We need to accept yung mga negativities of life and try to still carry a positive attitude. Because if we're just going to carry a positive attitude without looking really at the realities, then maybe there's something wrong too. So for connectedness, let me just move this. For coherence, is founded deeply human desire to make sense and meaning of the world. Especially now, yung COVID-19, it parang it puts in the face na yung mga existential concerns natin. Like, maybe you will be find yourself thinking na, what is life or what am I living for? Kasi we are in this situation now we see um, people dying every day due to COVID. And we are parang yung mga existential concerns is coming more to the surface, which is actually also a normal response to this. But the idea is not to ruminate too much on that, but look on what is within my control. Now, what can I do with it that will give my life meaning or will give my existence meaning despite of what is happening in the world? Developing a coherent narrative of what has happened and what can be done to live each day safely and fully is a challenging yet rewarding endeavor. A fruitful starting point in doing so is engaging in what is so-called acceptance-based coping. I will discuss this in this slide. So ano ba yung acceptance-based coping? Of course, you have to accept first the realities. So changing how one relates to responses, to stressors, to uncontrollable events by becoming not judgmentally aware of the flux of internal states that arise in response to them, fears, doubts, blame, in an accepting and planful manner. So, for example, let's use the COVID-19 situation. So, we are facing every day the fear, the anxiety of getting infected. Okay. So now, that is a reality, and we have to accept that. Now, maybe at some point we might be infected. There is that possibility. Okay. But we have to use that idea of it being possible and changing it or using it to change our ways or change our thinking. Now, because there is that possibility, these are the things that I can do. Okay. Because if we just keep na, for example, there are a lot on social media right now that is saying na, just do this, just do that, don't go out of the house and blah blah blah. Then it doesn't parang it just tells you what to do. But on your own, it's also important to acknowledge na you want to do this or you are in control to do this. That's why you want to do it. So the idea is not to strive to change, distract from, or otherwise divert from spontaneous physical or emotional responses, but to acknowledge that it is possible to coexist with realistic fears. Okay? To observe our actions to them, stand apart from them, and weave a compelling narrative around what constitutes an adaptive response. So with what is going on in the world right now, try to step back. Okay. So these things, these are reasonable fears. Okay. But observe how your mind is reacting to it, how you are emotionally feeling about it. Okay. I think this is one. So paano ba ginagamit or how is acceptance-based coping done? So a good way to facilitate acceptance-based coping is to clarify personal values by posing such questions as what is important to you? Okay. What makes you feel good even when confronted with a situation you can't fully control? Okay, what do you want other people to say about you and how you responded at this time? And how do you want to remember what you did or didn't do? What do you want to be known for? So this is a method or a strategy of grounding yourself again to your own values, to you, what matters to you, where you find meaning, where you find purpose. Is despite of what is going on, you have to know who you are or what you can contribute to the world. So answer to these questions often reveal to the person deeper motivations and what matters to them so they can pursue meaningful goals and activities. Because a lot of people right now tend to be just reactive. So this is parang tinitignan nila lahat as a cause and effect. This is what happening, that is why I feel like this. Okay. But again, between we have to understand that between what is happening and your response, there lies your choice what to do or how to respond. Another thing is the mindfulness practice that we can use for coherence. This has a lot of Buddhist origins from meditation. If you look at the picture, are you mindful or mindful? Okay, if you look at the picture, yung person na nag-walk ng dog, ang daming tumatakbo sa isip. Okay? It's not being mindful. So, ibig sabihin, yung mind niya is puno ng kung ano-ano that he doesn't live what is happening or what is in the environment. Meanwhile, doon sa aso, nakikita lang niya is kung ano yung nakikita talaga. Okay. So for in mindfulness practice, it encompasses acceptance-based practice of observing and engaging with the present in the non-judgmental and non-reactive manner. This is also being objective in a way. So for example, try to read a news and try not to react to it. Try to step back and really dissect dissect things in an objective manner, because sometimes we are all biased, we are all prejudiced against something or someone. But sometimes it's also important not to step back and to look at things uh, through an objective perspective, so that we do not tend to react emotionally all the time, or our judgment be clouded by our negative emotions. Mindfulness practice can range from simply eating in mindful way to multi-hour meditation exercises where the focus is on breathing or an emotional state. This is a good and very simple way how to do mindfulness practice. For example, every one of us or most of us eat 3 times a day. Okay, in just eating your meal, you can practice mindfulness. Okay, in practicing mindfulness, you have to engage all your senses, or most of the senses that you can engage in that activity. If you are going to eat, then try to smell the food. Okay, when you eat it, then try to taste as much as it. It's just being in the present you are eating. You are focusing all your attention on what you are doing right now. Okay, that is an example of mindfulness practice. If you are trying to do, let's say you are drawing or you are painting, then just focus on that. Do not think of other things, because that is like a muscle that needs to be exercised. Just focusing on what you are doing right now, engaging all your senses on what you are doing right now. Also, learning that a thought is just a thought, or that worries are evanescent and morph transparently into another thought or feeling, increases stress tolerance and permits reinterpretation of negative emotions as temporary visitors that will inevitably be replaced by other more welcome guests, thereby fortifying resilience. Okay. Again, this has a lot of Buddhist origins, and yung one of the um, philosophies of Buddhist teachings is yung attachments is the root of all suffering. So sometimes our attachments to our thoughts, our emotions can actually, or most often than not, results to our sufferings. We suffer because we think like this, or we have biased opinions about this. Again, which affects our emotions now, which leads to our own suffering. So the mindfulness muscle can be strengthened by exercises such as occasionally setting a timer on the phone and practicing mindful observations of emotions as they come and go. And as a reminder of the transience of all things, including the pandemic. So ibig sabihin, these things are not permanent. It will always pass. So right now we're experiencing this, but it will pass. All of this will pass. You always have to remind that yourself na these things will pass then. And maybe hopefully you can find comfort in that idea that these things will pass and you will be more in control of your life again. Okay. For connectedness, very important for overall well-being, human contact and social support. But since we're all in quarantine, MECQ, okay, there is not much human contact. So most of the interaction we do is online. But um, but even though we have those limitations, we can still do a lot with that. So establishing new bonds and reviving or reinvigorating existing bonds through direct human contact or other things, social media, not only alleviates anxiety, stress, and sadness, but also sets the stage for prosocial behavior and empathy. When we listen to other people talk, we know their struggles, then it also cultivates our empathy na parang it gives us a bigger perspective of what is not only happening to us, but also what is happening to other people. Because when we realize na we are not only experiencing this, other people are also experiencing this. We are all in this together. Okay. That also helps us be more resilient. In it can be comforting to appreciate that we are all in this together and direct compassion and loving feelings towards ourselves and others. So because when we know what other peoples are experiencing, then we tend to have more compassion about them. We have actually more compassionate to people we know and people we understand than people we do not understand. So compassion is actually a really important thing to practice. Kindness and compassion. This is this simple exercise I would like to share that with about compassion. It's called the loving kindness meditation practice. This is something that you can do on your own, maybe when you wake up or when you're going to back to sleep before going to bed. This is a way to practice feeling unconditional compassion for ourselves and all beings. Again, this is some Buddhist origins because psychotherapy right now is adapting a lot of Eastern techniques, Eastern practices. They're not really religion, but they're practices that can cultivate better mental health. And this is one of those. And some studies suggest it can help boost your empathy and feelings of connection and reduce bias, anger, and depression and anxiety. So this is just sitting quietly, and this has what you call this an instruction. Maybe I can send this to Miss Carissa to if you want to have a copy, which you can do or recommended to do. So in summary, coping strategies likely to be effective at reducing fear and worry and other negative symptoms, as well as enhancing resilience and recovery during this situation. They may also stage post-traumatic growth after pandemic by helping people acquire wisdom from adversity, strengthen relationships with loved ones, foster acceptance of life's uncertainties, and facilitate openness to new experiences. And these strategies are geared to help individuals make meaning, build distress tolerance, increase social support, embrace a view of our deep human interconnectedness, and take goal-directed, value-driven actions in the midst of the stealthy and terrifying threat of COVID-19. So this will be my last slide. So in cases, because right now there are really a lot of people needing psychological help, and people who do not even talk to me for like years will actually chat me, do you know somebody who can help with this or blah 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 blah. So it's just really a reflection of what people are going through right now. So in mental health, seeking mental health professionals in the Philippines, this in the context of the Philippines, we have since we already have the cyclo, these are the professionals or legitimate professionals you can seek for help, like registered psychometrician, registered psychologist, registered guidance counselor, psychiatrists. They're medical doctors with specialized in specialization in psychiatry, and other allied mental health practitioners, like for example social workers. Okay, I'm also putting this out because since there is a need for psychological or increase in need of psychological help or psychiatric help, there are also a lot of organizations or individuals that are not really legitimate offering these mental health services and are charging for really big fees. So if you are going, if you know someone, or if you want to seek for professional help, please take note of these professionals, these titles, because they are the ones only allowed in the psych law, yung psychology bill, psychology law na siya ngayon. These are the ones allowed to give those psychological help. But only this is in the context of the Philippines. If you're in other country, then they have their own regulating body for professionals. But this is for the PRC. So I think that's all. Thank you for listening and have a good weekend. If you have questions, you may also send them.
Hello, everyone. Oo.
Gising,
Gis-
gising pa ba kayo?
yes, thank you very much for your talk, Allene. I would like to, for our constituents to, if they have any questions, clarifications, or any insights of what Allene has discussed tonight. Sabi ko, it's very interesting and it's very mind-opening talaga siya kasi may self-reflection na nanggaganap. So, if you have questions.
Yes, you can actually turn on your audio, your mic right now, microphones right now, and those who are kind of shy to raise their questions or at least their insights, you may also drop your questions or thoughts in our chat box down below. Okay, so yeah.
Jonard, could you check din kung baka meron sa Facebook Live natin, baka may nagtatanong din?
Sige.
Yeah, kasi we're live sa Facebook
Oh
din
my.
pala, Allene.
Yes,
Okay lang.
we're also live in Facebook, correct?
We're Facebook Live then for our constituents since Zoom is limited to 100
Yes.
members
And
lang
you know what?
inside.
Ang kagandahan pa nito dun sa talk natin ngayon featuring our speaker right now is that it's not limited to architects. That's why we also did some watch party as well for at least everyone to watch and listen to our topic. Okay, so let's check first.
Okay, we have a question.
Review
When seeking help, is there a difference in terms of diagnosis or advice when asking a psychologist versus a psychiatrist?
Okay, so first I would first distinguish what is a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Psychologist is someone, at least in the Philippine context, is someone who has finished a master's degree and has taken and passed the board exam for psychologist. So we have that. For one to be registered psychologist, you should have a master's degree in psychology and you should have passed the board exam. For psychiatrists, they are medical doctors. Ibig sabihin, they have completed their medical degrees and they specialize in psychiatry. So if you look at it, their main difference is that psychiatrists look more on the medical model in looking at mental disorders, while psychologist is more on the psychosocial, psychological. That is why only psychiatrists can prescribe medications because they are medical doctors. Psychologists are not medical doctors. If you look at if you want to understand now what makes psychologists different from psychiatrists, psychologists in our study or in um we all have taken our master's degree. Although I haven't passed the board yet because the board was canceled this year, which I'm supposed to take. Um, in our preparation, we have a lot of therapy classes and therapy exposure to how to do therapies. In psychiatry, they focus more on medications, although some of them also have knowledge on conducting therapy. Okay, but the determining if it's something that is mild or moderate illness or mental illness, it's better first to go to psychologist. Okay, and a good psychiatrist will actually refer you to get a therapy with a psychologist rather than prescribing you right away, because they can assess, do you need medication or do you just first need psychotherapy first, or do you need medication so that psychotherapy will be effective. So they have those nuances. So in terms of advising naman, I cannot really say it's advising for psychologists. Even for psychiatrists, they're not really advising, because um, we try in therapy, we try to help process people. Okay, we are not advisors. We are not business, like in the advising business. We're not in advising business. We are in the helping business. So it's not even business. We're just in the helping profession. Okay. So when you want to ask for an advice, maybe they can just give you general advices, but it will not fix your problem because there's still something that needs to be processed. Okay, assuming that this person is um, experiencing mental health issues or problems. Did I answer your question?
Sige, ano ko, we'll just wait for the reply because this was sent privately by one of our members. Yes, thank you, Mama Lynn, for the
Also,
clarification.
do you have
Yes,
other
you answered it. Thank you very much for your question po, Sir Mike. So, are there any more questions? Sa ating mga officers, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have actually a question. Yeah, before I drop my own question also, maybe remind as well our participants, our members to please, we encourage you to use our virtual background right now. So special thanks to Boysen, of course. Now, my question is that there's a concept of in these current times wherein everything is critical, not only due to COVID, but also due to the instability of political instability, the divisiveness of the community. There are some people who I don't know if we can consider it that they not really imbibe toxic positivity. What are your insights about that?
Okay. Okay. That actually, in a webinar that I attended yesterday, this was a question also raised about toxic positivity. And the speaker there said that there is no scientific studies conducted yet to prove toxic positivity. But again, that webinar is looking at it through an academic perspective, which may not always translate to what we are experiencing right now. For example, social media. Okay, toxic positivity. If a person is positive, let's say, generally they're an optimistic person. It is, or that being like that serves a purpose for them. But again, what the purpose it is serving for them might not be the same purpose it is serving to other people, or they are applying this positivity to. Okay, so yung toxic positivity, it may serve a purpose to the person that is positive, but if this person applies this positivity to another person who doesn't share the same values or same opinions, same etc., then I think that is what you mean by toxic positivity.
Okay, so about toxic positivity, it's a kind of more of a subjective interpretation. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, kasi 'di ba sabi mo nga kanina, it may do good to a certain person, but
Yes.
not on the certain standards of
Yes.
another person. But correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, by definition, what toxic positivity is that you tend or you decide or you choose to shut off or to you do not acknowledge the
Yes.
realities of life, like the negativities that is happening. Do you think it's healthy?
Toxic positivity is healthy? You're asking
But,
that?
of course, it's
Yung,
not.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking you
Okay.
to.
yung,
I will not say that is not healthy. Again, everything needs to be moderated. Okay, that is why I've been keeping saying na it's important to acknowledge the realities. Okay, so if one is being positive and it's in moderation, then that's fine if it's serving a purpose to this person. But if this person is overly positive and his or this person is showing this positivity to other person, then obviously there's a problem to that.
That's ecstasy. Thank you. Any other questions, guys? It's our chance right now to at least share our own thoughts, or maybe from our own experiences as well.
Oo.
No? Lalo pa
Oo.
tayo, mga professionals tayo. No?
Oo.
Mm.
Hindi nga, right now, parang ako, I have something parang, what is your opinion ngayon with regards to online hustle culture? Yung parang, kailangan lagi kang active, parang, since,
Mm.
ano nga ngayon, parang, kailangan active ka lagi sa, kasi syempre ngayon, competitive lahat nung ano. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Thoughts on the
The concept
Hustle,
na
yung
parang,
concept of hustle culture, yung parang productivity all the time.
mm,
Even before the pandemic, there is like a mindset na being busy is trendy. Like, oh, busy, oh, busy siya, ganyan, ganyan. Parang it has become a trend na we looked at it very positive, very, not really positively, but more on, parang there is a certain charisma when somebody is busy. Parang we have developed that thought na kapag busy tong tao na to, she's being productive or they're being productive. But again, it boils down to what is really important to you, because if there is always pressure everywhere, whether there is a pandemic or especially now, I feel like a lot of people feel the need to advertise themselves online,
mm,
diba? Parang again, it still boils down to, since these are the realities to some people, but what is the reality for you? It still boils down there na you can buy that thought, you can buy that idea, or you can also choose not to buy that idea. Did 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 I answer
Yeah.
the question
Oo.
somehow?
Yes. So, are there any other questions from our, excuse me, from our members? Hi, Miss
ayun.
Minnie. Ayan.
From,
Really
basahin
appreciate
na
for,
natin.
ako na, sige.
Ikaw na, sige.
Thank you for the talk, and this is from our member, Ma'am Maraya Concepcion. Thank you for the talk and for the insights. Really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, as it's really very relevant, especially in the time of uncertainty. As an individual who operates in the domain of psychiatric and psychological studies, how do you see these fields progress in the coming months or years, especially now that we're experiencing this pandemic? Do you see explorations on AI being the next target, or do you find it more destructive than helpful?
Uh, I've been also reading some. This is also a concern because therapy relies a lot on face-to-face interactions. Like we meet our patients or and sit with them in the same room, and there is a big, or parang there is a need now to transition to telemental health, and some clinics have also started telemental health, meaning they video call, they do their therapies through video call. But with regards to, if I'm just going to be really honest about this, the board exam for psychologists only started in 2014. Okay, there are many psychometricians, because for psychometricians it is only needed a bachelor's degree and board exam for psychometricians. But for psychology, since the qualification is you need to be a graduate of master's degree in psychology and you need to pass the board exam, I'm going to be honest, there is really a lack in terms of number of these professionals of psychologists. Even in psychiatrists, there is a lack of um, practicing professionals. So this is also somehow I am also confused, because if we can only seek help to legitimate professionals, meaning by legitimate is those that are licensed under the psych law or PRC, then I am not sure if they can handle all the the issues or the cases that will be given to them. But then again, some of these some of these concerns that are surfacing now, like relating to depression or anxiety, a lot of these cases are actually mild to moderate. And if only people are educated enough on mental health, they can actually do something about it without seeking help. Or for you, for example, since I've given this talk to those who can watch, then you maybe have learned more about mental health. Then if somebody came to you, then you can somehow understand this is what this person needs, or maybe you just need to not to invalidate them, but to understand from their perspective na this is valid, but this is also mild. This what you are feeling right now is normal, although it is discomfort, giving you discomfort, but we are also experiencing this all right now. What I am actually um, more afraid of are the ones who have pre-existing conditions even before the pandemic, because right now they are even more at risk
Yeah.
for worsening of this their own issues. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Mm.
Ay, will ask pag
Mm.
nag-reply.
Oh, yun. Yes po, thank you po. We look forward seeing and learning more from
Oh,
you.
wait lang. I would
Uh,
just like to add to that last one. Since we have a regulated, PRC regulated yung mga professionals who are allowed to give mental health services. Like I said, psychiatrist, psychologist, psychometrician. Psychometricians only a limited scope of work. And registered guidance counselors. There are also some professionals here in the Philippines who are not licensed, but they are certified for to do a certain therapy. For example, they are cognitive behavioral therapists. You can also seek their help, their professional help, because some of these people or some of these professionals are not psychology majors. That's why they cannot take the board exam. But they are trained, they are qualified, they have the experience. So I don't see why you cannot consult them just because they do not have a license. That is just a disclaimer on my that's just my personal opinion, a disclaimer on my part. Because do we parang the question is just because they do not have license, these are the people who needs help. And if they cannot address the registered ones, then who will address this? So these are other alternative or allied mental health professionals that you can seek. They have certification in certain therapies. They're not necessarily psychologists, but they have the training and experience. That's all.
okay.
Um,
So,
we'll have our
okay, let
last
me just
question
read
na. Oo.
her, Ma'am Mariah.
Sige.
Basahin ko lang na ito, ano. Sabi ni Ma'am Mariah lang kanina. Yes. Yes po, thank you po. We look forward to seeing and learning more from your perspective and hope we could find ways to collaborate as well, as since we are dealing with creating or designing spaces. Actually, it's a good idea as well to have other professionals
Have their
that's
input.
who serve as of architects, and then vice versa as well. Any questions
We'll
na
take our
siguro?
last
Last
question na
question?
for before we wrap it up. Are there any more questions? Our chat line is open.
Or or if or while we are waiting, baka ma'am pwede niyong maibigay yung contact details. Just in case that they want to.
Okay.
Naka-public tayo, ma'am.
Actually,
Live tayo sa FB.
you can I'm on social media, I'm on Twitter. If you have questions on mental health, maybe I can answer them. But right now I do not really give therapy, or I do not give telemental health services. However, if you need questions, or if you want to ask, here's my Twitter or here's my email. However, if you need referrals, I can give you that. I can look for professionals within the circle or other people who can do telemental health, and I will refer them to you. I will refer you to them. Kasi in the mental health field naman, we're all collaborators. So if this person needs somebody who can help them better, then we refer.
Sana
Right.
tayo din ganun, no?
Kaya nga eh. So, do you have
Okay.
other questions? Kasi kung wala, magdadapa ka ng question.
Sige, John or Kite, you could ask our last question na
Okay.
for Allene.
So,
Then we could wrap it up na.
okay. So I think this one is I think very important for us professionals and the rest who are dealing with the stressful nature of work, no, maybe inside the office or maybe in the project sites. But upon listening to this seminar and let's say yung mga ibang tao rin na they may come up with the realization na ay oo nga baka meron pala akong problema, or they were able to acknowledge that there is a problem, or let's say they might get up confused as well and starting to deny that ay hindi wala akong ganyan. Why is it important for a certain individual, regardless of the profession or status in life, that seeking help to a psychometrician, psychologist, or psychiatrist? Why is important for us? At um, hindi siya nakakasira ng ego, let's say, or let's say hindi, kasi there is a stigma, of course. I think you know that as well.
Yes.
Na sabi nila pag nakikipag-meet ka sa psychiatrist, ay may tama na siya, parang ganun. Why is it important to acknowledge first that there is a problem, and why is it important as well na hindi nakakahiyang mag-seek ng help sa psychiatrist or psychologist
Okay.
or psychometrician? Yeah.
Okay. First, I would like to distinguish yung difference on generations, because right now the generation, maybe starting from generation Y or millennials to generation, they're more open. Actually, they want to seek
Correct.
help. Or sometimes they just do not have the means, because if we're going to be really honest, going to therapy costs some money. It's not for free. Although there are some free services like the one offered by NCMH and sometimes PGH too. Yung queue naman is sobrang haba, and sometimes they just want to pay so that they will be accommodated. So in seeking help, right now the younger generations are more open to it. So we are gearing towards that direction, that people are becoming more open. I think a lot of stigma has to do with the older people's because their understanding is different. How they were brought up, the earlier generations, is different from us. Okay, and right now the information is readily available everywhere. Although I will not really recommend Googling your symptoms of mental illness,
Yeah.
but still, information is everywhere. And we also talk to like-minded people who are open. But I think, again, it's our job as the younger generations to bridge yung gap on understanding mental health to older generations. I don't know if we have older generations in this Zoom, but I think it's also important for them to see things also how this generation is seeing things now. It's not really invalidating yung issues nila noon or issues nila ngayon, kasi nga there is a vibe. So we have to acknowledge na iba yung environment na kinalakihan nila sa environment na kinakalakihan natin. And from there, start to bridge yung gap na this is what is happening right now. People are more stressed right now. People are more depressed right now. People are more anxious right now. Okay? So, iba din yung stressors nila noon sa stressors ngayon. So, these things are not really comparable. Kami naman noon, walang ganyan-ganyan, walang psychiatrist. May mga ganon. Pero it's really up to us how to bridge na yung gap for them to understand things better. And on stigma naman, like what I said, it also has a lot to do with kasi noon wala pang ganito masyado, or hindi pa siya known. And also a lot of movies and series portray mental illness in either too interesting personalities, or sobrang dangerous personalities naman like in psychological thrillers. So these things also add somehow to the stigma. But I'm also thankful that some movies also portray mental illness to bring awareness. May
Yeah,
ganitong conditions.
that's it.
So yes, for mental health or mental illness awareness, it's also our somehow job to be open about things.
Correct.
Sometimes people will always ask, ano ba yung pwede kong sabihin? Ganito, nade-depress na naman si ganito, ganyan. Nagpa-panic sila. But
Mm.
sometimes, it's not really what you have to say, but how you would want to be there for the person. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
It's really important talaga kasi in terms of awareness din talaga. Regardless of the generation that the time transcends right now, no, it is really important na we acknowledge it. And yun nga yung awareness kasi hindi lahat yung iba, I mean, yung nga nabanggit mo nga na for the younger generations are really open, no, the millennials and even the Gen Zs right now, no, and yung critical part is yung sa older generations na they need to yung nabanggit mo nga rin na they need to acknowledge as well. Yun. And yung awareness nga, very important yun. Kaya maraming salamat. And
Yes.
pinunlakan mo kami.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as to end this this seminar in we would like to share the certificate of appreciation that we will mail it to you. We will mail it to you. As a guest of honor and speaker of this chapter's program, our second general membership meeting. So, held today, Saturday, 15th of August 2020 via Zoom. So thank you again, Allene, for sharing your time with us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you very much.
Salamat po.
Thank you. So we'll now move forward to our general meeting din talaga. So i-anin ko na to, Allene.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Salamat po. Good evening.
Good evening. So we'll now start with our therefore the time is 8:03. So I now open our general membership meeting. So let's start. You have given nagbigay naman na ako ng chapter agenda for this evening. So teka lang. Ayaw siya mag okay. So we will discuss about the minutes of our meeting last month. PRC updates na na-research namin within that month, within the span of a month. The new Ambag program of Area A, upcoming events, and our World Architecture Day event in October. So let's start. The minutes of a meeting and all other resources can be downloaded through our website. So the website is shown in your screen, uapbcc.card.com. So may mga links doon. Ngayon lang, hindi pa na-add doon, but we have our YouTube link. May YouTube tayong account ngayon. So that's where we save all our meetings since July, actually. Pati yung induction, nandiyan, di ba, Jonah?
Yes, yung induction.
Yeah. And also our bingo night. So if you want to have a preview of what happened, what transpired that evening.
Uploaded na rin.
And then how we chose the prizes. So, namin yun. So, last time we have started 7:30 with 74 members present. So, our general announcements that I think everyone should be made aware of. So, there will be no events on Sundays as prescribed by UAP National. So, all payment dues, kasi may nagtanong sa amin if why not discount daw. So, I'll discuss that later. Pero, all dues, pati local, is extended until December 31, 2020. So, this is for this fiscal year only. Kunwari, hindi ka nakabayad ng hindi siya counted. And then, PRC is waiving accreditation fees.
And then, may nagtatanong kasi din sa amin na bakit merong mga inductees, new members na nag-induct last month. So, to be clear, those are not the January passers. These are transferees and mga nag-graduate, nakapasa nung June 2019. So, sila yung mga late or mga previous years na hindi sila nakasama sa induction prior to 2020. So, professional IDs due to expire this year within the is pwede pa daw ng 1 month. So, parang yun nga, ang example dito, 2020, valid siya hanggang December 2020. So, plus 1 month. And then, rapid passes, kung if you have projects outside of Baguio, pwede kang mag-apply. The link is in the previous slide. So this is just a summary talaga. Chapter General Members Meeting is every third Saturday of the month. So separate fellowship nights, like our bingo night this month was held last week, second Saturday of the month. So sa amin din pala, full disclosure, yung pagsasend namin ng mga mail is systematic. We don't send it parang, as much as possible, we send it only twice a month. Para iwas din kay Neil, our treasurer, and for me, kung magpapadala ako, na yung too much exposure laging nasa labas. So, yun yung And then we have contact details and presented the roles specified for each yung parang key officers. So for me, it's the transferees, and then for any financial treasurer natin, and then for new membership, we have our secretary. So means to pay dues to our video account, and if you go to our website, then nandun din yung video information. And then, just an information for everyone. Bakit nga, ito yung sinasabi ko na bakit walang discount. Kasi, unlike the other chapters, we're still fully operational. So, this is why we have Zoom meetings today. Parang, may binabayaran kami na subscription. So, kasi kapag yung libre, if it's more than 3 people, nakalimit for 40 minutes. So parang kung kunwari, every 40 minutes, paputol-putol siya. Tapos reconnect, tapos lahat pupunta. So another 10 minutes wasted kapag ganun. So merong ino-offer si National na pwede natin kunin yung Zoom meet, subscription, but you have to pencil schedule it. So medyo jahe. And then this Zoom subscription also is being used by the officers for our board meetings, and then next month would be past president's meeting, so we're still going to use that. And then our text line is not hindi siya prepaid kundi postpaid. So for the information, kaya kami nagplan kasi once na nag-send ng prepaid ng maraming message, they mark it as spam. So alam niyo yung mga kapag postpaid ka, you naramdaman na naranasan mo na yung may magte-text sa'yo kunwari na nakapag-share a load siya. Tapos sasabihin niya, pakibalik na lang, parang ganun. Ganun ang pagkabasa ng Globe or any prepaid account na Kaya much better kung postpaid, diretso sa ating members. And then we have honorariums to speakers. So we still have to give them a monetary incentive to speak. And then mailing costs for our speakers, for our national headquarters as a sign of thank you. Yan. So for our PRC update, so we have collated everything. So let me open another PowerPoint presentation with regards to that. So ito yung mga PRC updates that is in line with our profession. So we have read it and summarized it. Pero I think Jonard has a link for all of this.
Yes, I will be attaching it right now sa ating chat para at least meron kayong direct access immediately dun sa links for more detailed information.
Yeah. If you want to read further kung ano yung ano natin. So, should I say unfortunately, it's still mandatory for the renewal. Pero sa exemptions ng CPD requirements, professionals working overseas, so mga OFW, walang CPD. And then newly licensed professional for their first renewal cycle. So, teka,
Yes.
kino-compute ko kasi eh. Parang yung 3 years na ano. So kung kunwari first time ka magre-renew,
walang
CPD requirements. And then various CPD councils shall reduce the required CPD credit units to a minimum which should not be more than 15 credit units. So meron ka bang idea dyan? Or kung ilan na ba talaga for architects? 45 pa rin ba?
No. This is actually more of a reiteration na siguro kasi I think earlier this year or late last year it was announced as well dun sa amended na na IRR ng CPD law natin na it applies na 15 CPD units lang ang kailangan natin for our second renewal. So ang first renewal, walang CPD units, ang ating mga overseas work o mga OFW na mga practitioners, hindi rin sila counted sa requirement ng CPD.
Alright. And then, teka, naglala ko aking PC. Okay. All seminars attended by licensed professionals should be recognized as CPD units. So, yung talk natin kanina with Allene is considered a mini seminar that you could use as self-directed.
Just to add up, no, when dun sa yung sa sinend natin and what was flashed as well yung sa resolution from PRC, it is you architect or us kung sino man sa atin na nag-a-apply, tayo ang mag-aasikaso to apply yung inattenda nating seminar as self-directed.
Yeah. So please, those who attended tonight, please expect a certificate for you as an attachment para kung kailangan nyo to for your self-directed seminar, at least may attachment. So that's why we are asking members to yung tama yung pangalan ninyo sa attendance so that tama rin yung pagsulat namin ng name sa mga certificates. So that's important.
Yes, sa part din naman natin as a chapter, we'll be giving as well the details for you to be helped, no, para sa pag-validate ng seminars as self-directed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
yan.
ito na yung parang there's a new matrix na nilabas nila recently. So these are the activities that you could credit as CPD points. So yung formal learning education attainment. So kapag masterals, ganon, you could use that. And then non-formal learning, self-directed activities such as this tonight is considered CPD points, credit. Informal learning, working in the government, business and private practice, academe, and civil society is considered CPD points. So we're still going to ask about this since kung kunwari businessman ka, nagpa-private practice, how would you apply that? So we'll give you an update dito. We'll ask. So please hang on to that.
Yes, ma'am. So bale dito sa yung resolution 1244 ng PRC to para magkaroon tayo ng pahapyaw na view about the informal learning. Actually, tama yan, yung working in the government, office, business, private practice, academia, and civil society. How do you validate it? If you have a stellar performance, let's say you are awarded, like let's say awarded due to your stellar performance in your work, no? And anyway, yung details naman yan as well is already inside that particular resolution. And yun, ang maganda sa atin ngayon is that nakalakip na lahat sa resolution na i-release ng PRC.
Yeah.
Uh,
So self-directed learning 5 to 15. Is this 5 to 15?
yes, for self-directed learning, maximum of 30% lang nung requirement mo ang pwedeng i-count na pwedeng i-count under self-directed. So, yung 10 points, 10 CPD points na kailangan mong i-avail ay kailangan mong i-earn is from formal learning, let's say. So hindi pwedeng lahat hindi pwede lahat yung tour mo or yung mga award mo or certificates mo rin as a speaker, for example.
Parang there's a specific
limit lang.
Okay. So 60 days processing of application and then plus 15 days compliance. So this is about professionals can still renew their PIC even without full CPD points. This is for this year, di ba? Tama ba?
Yes, it is an update na rin yung sa CPD units through informal learning, professional work experience, self-directed learning, and online learning. We highlight yung online learning like what we have right now. We have webinars, no. In-emphasize lang nila that webinars or virtual seminars are counted, no.
Okay. So ito yung mga compliance if you're going to register the website. And then this is what we've discussed last time, yung waiving na accreditation, so we could skip that. And then ito na yung pwede nga like yung hindi nag-undergo ng CDP accreditation, yung sinasabi namin na it did not undergo CPD accreditation, pwede pa naman. So this is really And then some requirements. We will send this also dun sa group sa ating drive. UAP drive. So if you still have questions dito, and then so this is parehas din lang naman. Ito, this is very important for our senior citizens, 60 and above or PWDs. Their CPD requirements are just 10 points lang. So baka hindi alam ng most members to. And then this is most important, excess credit units may be used on the next renewal cycle. So kung narin sobra-sobra, pwede susunod. Sabi ko, at least hindi katulad yung pinakaunang law na kahit lumagpas ka, hindi maki-carry over. So this is a good thing for us. So, okay na tayo dun sa So let's go.
Yes. For the questions later na siguro, no?
Yeah. And then, this is regarding our yung January passers nga kasi technically, they're not yet architects talaga. Tama, di ba? They're not yet talaga, they cannot
sign yet.
Oo, parang they cannot be inducted to a specific chapter. So may mga nag-pledge na sa atin na January passers, but they can't really enter it. Kasi hindi pa pwedeng mag-oath muna. Kailangan muna kasi ang requirement nila. Kailangan mag-oath muna sa PR BOA before sa chapter. That's an issue before. So ngayon, technical working group kasi meron na sa civil parang na-plansya na nila yung nandun. So ngayon, next naman na tayo.
We're waiting for the schedule.
Yeah. So, please, na lang, keep watch na lang din for our announcement din, especially sa mga January passers natin. So, this is one of the announcement. Dapat isa nga lang siya. So, I'm not sure if members have seen this. The ambag program set forth by Area A. So, sa atin lang yan. We are, for the information of the of our members, we are A1A. Doon tayo, yun yung ating area na coverage. So, there are, before there were 7, pero minadagdag na 2 chapters. So, we're now 9. So there's 2 options here. So a member can pay in behalf of another member as a form of donation. So as stated dito sa poster na binigay sa amin. And then the chapter will and can pay in behalf of another member who applies. So ito kasi it's still very bleak, to be honest, in terms of chapter responsibilities. We just shared this kasi may nakakita na and people are asking na din. So, we have set forth some sort of parang, it's not really gatekeeping.
Pero as a means of hindi rin weeding out. I'm not sure of the term na pwede kong gamitin. So,
Yeah.
it's a way of compartmentalizing na lang ang term natin. And then to really bigyan natin ng weight ng talagang yung pumupunta, parang giving credit where credit is due. So these are some of the requirements needed by a member who wants to apply for this ambag program. So first, he or she must be an active member for 3 fiscal years. So from the term of Architect Lakamen to Architect Shirley to me is and then this is the end or. So you have attended at least one national event, NatCon, area assembly, or attended at least 2 local seminars for the past 4 years. So you could apply with certificates of attendance attached to our email and then our subject for ambag program. If you still have not received any certificates for any seminars, please please come forward din kasi may mga naipon kaming unclaimed certificates. So do send me sa akin kasi nasa akin yung mga documents, a message, and I'll try to find it doon sa file natin. And then I'll message you if there is one na. So yan. That's one of the you could hold off questions later then. So chapter announcements naman. So firstly is our activity report. So as I've said earlier, we had our first ever separate bingo night. So
Talaga.
oo
Sorry.
kailangan pakita yung picture mo dyan. So hindi kasi this is a proof na may
na meron.
So for our winners, ito po siya. If you want highlighted, hindi actually nandun na yung buong video sa YouTube page natin. So here, we're just clearing kasi GCash ang gagamitin namin for the cash prices rather than yung cash talaga para iwas kamay din kasi. Yun. So I hope that you've everyone people could attend our October. So October ulit. We're still debating if bingo night or trivia night siya. Or
well, definitely ang team natin.
Just expect our our announcements na lang din. Pero sabi ko, parang it's a very fun night. Parang let's apply din natutunan din natin ngayon. Parang it's where we share things. Parang kung gusto mo maglabas ng sabi ko nga lang, sana matapos na yung liquor ban para at least meron tayong tinotoma or something. We'll see. And then next we have, sorry Shirley, nakapikit ka dun sa isang picture. Anyways, UAP Baguio City Chapter handed PPE and PPE items. This was donated by UAP La Union, President Architect Ringtis, his team. He gave every A1A presidents packages like this for donation. So our choice as directors, as the board of directors, since marami na nagdo-donate sa mga health centers and hospitals, we decided sa na lang, sa kulungan. So sa mga workers and hopefully sa prisoners din because prison is not punishment but rehabilitation. So there's still people. So kailangan pa rin nila ng protection din. So we gave that. And like I said a while ago, we're very smart when it comes to giving out yung kasi siyempre we're still working in a pandemic. So even though last month yung diba nga, for the past 2 weeks, puros lockdown, it's either the barangay of an officer or City Hall itself. So kahapon lang namin nabigay yung certificate and token for as a sign of thank you to our city planner, Architect Donat, and member, Architect Donat Nabangin. So, I hope she enjoyed the clock. Nag-hintay ko na lang yung text nila. Yeah. So, as our upcoming events, I guess na nakita nyo rin ito sa group, sa ano natin, sa official page natin. But if not, for your information na din, we will always post this type of calendar monthly para madali nyong ma-monitor mga holidays and mga activities, which is color-coded na din. So, these are some of the activities that they personally invited UAP Baguio. So if you have any activities, excuse me, if you have any activities planned na for our members, or you just want to invite, parang gusto nyo lang may ano din, please inform us para maisama sa aming monthly calendar. This para din, ma-share din natin sa ating mga members na hindi lang yung So if you also know other activities na parang you think our members would be interested in, please feel free to message me or Architect Jonard also, kasi siya ang more of the Facebook talaga. Kumbaga, social media correspondent natin ng mga VPs natin. So, next is our World Architecture Day collaboration project. So, this is for October pa, but we're really planning something somewhat big for para i-share din natin sa Baguio. Kasi, truthfully, UAP as a general construct, hindi tayo kilala ng Baguio City. Not that much. Kumbaga, it's still PICE ang inaano. Kumbaga, we're not really that active with regards to So this fiscal year, we're pushing that in a different light. So as a program for World Architecture Day in October, we have this. So this is a design proposal contest of some sort. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been greatly impacting our lives. So design concepts for the city as well as for architecture or landscape. Gusto natin ng some way of giving back to the city with our designs. Pero our designs doesn't need to be yung very grandeur. We're to explain. So these are some of the scopes na sana meron tayong parang output. So sa public market, and then outdoor and indoor public spaces, and then jeepney waiting terminals or waiting sheds. So this is more of a think tank project. Kumbaga, schematics on how we we control social physical distancing, yung iwas nga na that is still kasi ang naging nakita namin parang while we were doing this process is most of the proposals is outside of the Philippines. So sa kanila, malaki yung spaces nila. Parang hindi nila kinonsider yung actuality ng Pilipinas, which is sikip. Our design principle is we know people are flexible. That's why mas kinoncentrate ang mobility ng tao rather than the parang yung grandeur of the space. So, the eligibility for this competition/collaboration is a call for ideas only. So, it will be an open category. Anyone interested in architecture can respond to this. So, it could be single or team, actually. We will be posting the application form and then a panel. Hindi na kailangan siya na printed, kahit digital lang. Since we're planning a digital museum for all of this these items. So all our entries would be collated in one website, not Facebook page. Hindi natin po-post siya as photos doon. As in talagang website where other people can visit it. This, ang ipiprint out, it's our printout na lang, kami ng board ang magpiprint out niyan. And we will submit these collated ideas sa City Hall. Since we have an ally inside now, we could pass it through. So, yun ang aming game plan doon. So, we will post a far more detailed summary of this contest, maybe by next week. We just want to inform our members na we have something cooking up for that. Online submissions will be in September 10. So, eto nga yung ano natin. So, not necessarily model na super perspective, just the simple sketches, collages, masses na parang ideas lang na, yun nga, parang more of Filipino context. Yung adaptability, kung ano yung meron din sa atin, and if there will be changes, how big or how small is it, na madali din ma-adapt ng common Filipino. Yun yung iniisip namin regarding dito. So, this is the content guide, kung ano yung parang how would you go about it. So, what are the prices? So, we have cash prices here. So 8,000, and then it might rise actually if we find sponsors. So parang yan pa lang yung basic ano namin din. So 8,000, 5,000, and then a special jewelry prize. Hindi naman kasi necessarily yung super, like I said, hindi super grand yung output na hinihingi. Just the common, it's a think tank. So kumbaga, you could, you could, sabi ko nga, pwedeng individual in ano. So, wait lang message. Oh, okay, sorry. So all this will be submitted. And then, yung website natin, hindi siya yung website talaga ng UAP. Talagang separate siya na website that people outside of Baguio City could even have an idea of that. Kasi yun nga, very general yung mga nakikita natin outside. Oh, okay. So, yun na pala yun. Yeah. So, yun ang ano namin na ano. So, if you have any questions with regards, I hope I'm not going too fast din pagdating sa ano, sa mga updates natin sa mga other members. If you have questions lang with regards to our kung ano man yung na-discuss natin. Oo.
Okay, so there are private na questions na ni-raise.
Meron na.
Yes, sinagot ko na siya, pero para sa lahat no, for the sake of discussion as well.
Yes, please.
Mas maganda. First question is from Architect Marie Benson. Ayan. How do we secure or request previous, ayun pala, nasagot mo na ba ito? Previous certificates for GMMs attended. I think you mentioned last time that GMMs have CPD credits too. Is that correct?
Yes. So, kumbaga, kaya nakaalagay din doon, okay lang naman din doon na nakita naman na yung pangalan ninyo. So, we will make certificates and then online din. I think at this time, we will make our kasama din siya sa Google Drive ng ating ano. Parang there's a drive for everyone to access and then check kung meron doon. Sabi ko, and then you might print it as much as possible kasi ayaw naman namin in contact with. Pero yung sinasabi ko for the past 3 years, baka meron pa lang na-print out na try kong hanapin na turnover sa akin, which is a lot.
So,
by the way, we have a box full of, and there's a full box that contains hundreds, thousands pa nga of certificates from NatCons, area assemblies, seminars. Ano na lang.
Okay, so another question is, kapag naka-attend ng occupational safety, ilan ang CPD points? Thanks. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Ma'am Dale, no?
Yes.
Yung COSH certificates po ninyo, yung sa training, you may check that out kung yung sa certificate meron nakalagay mismo na CPD number or CPD points. 'Di ba yun yung tinitignan? Or kung wala, you may apply it under formal training pa rin yun or self-directed. Kasi meron naman evaluator sa PRC.
Mm-mm.
Or may specific ba sa COSH?
No, parang ang ano kasi diyan, if you have specialization sa trabaho mo, for example, meron kang kinuhang project na ano, kasi yun nga yung, like I said, we're still researching further kung paano ba siya. Parang I cannot answer talaga fully with regards to that. Kasi, hindi ko sure kung ano yung gusto ni PRC with regards to certificate ba. Like, or kunwari, lead or verde or green certificate ang hinahanap na considered siyang special training. Something like that. Hindi siya clear-cut doon sa resolution. Wala kasi siyang IRR. So we have, parang at least ngayon, naka-note lang siya and we could ask sa PR BOA. Very, very accommodating naman si Architect Sak. So, i-ano na lang namin yan.
So, are there any other questions? Tingnan natin ng ano.
Yeah.
Okay, so to add up na lang din siguro, Ma'am Dale, no? While we are waiting. Dun sa yung sa inclusive, yung mga inclusives dun sa inclusion dun sa ating national and yung chapter juice natin actually as discussed a while ago. And we were able to announce it as well in the previous meeting that free ang ating GMMs, correct? Hanggang December. December. GMMs natin prior to December na activities because may niluluto tayo na something for December. We are really targeting na by January, mako-consume na natin kung ano yung napag-usapan natin under, as stated under a board resolution about our juice. Yung tatlo. No? So we are targeting really na by January, hopefully, makakapag-meeting na tayo. Kung hindi man talaga physical, we might be starting to consume kung ano yung napag-usapan natin with regards to our local juice.
Yeah. So, sabi ko, the chat is still open then if you have any other questions. Sabi ko, especially with regard, actually sabi ko, if you have input with regards to the ambag program, kasi talagang kami din, if you have any other suggestions with regards to that. Ang pagkaalam ko kasi, personally, ang district director has a specific budget lang. So, if you have any inputs then, we would really appreciate it then.
Officers?
Are there any interjections din sa ating officers kung meron pa kayong idadagdag that I missed?
Ito na lang din pala. To add up na lang din, since we are really active in our social media, in our social network sites, like now that we have YouTube as well, and of course our member Lian Austria is really viral right now, diba? We really encourage you as well, dear members, na if you have something to share na gusto ninyong ma-feature, then we can use our YouTube platform para ma-disseminate din natin kung ano man yon. And also, since nasimulan na rin natin yung sort of parang charity work na, no? We don't have a specific program, no, we don't have a specific program at the moment as a response to COVID, no? But kung meron tayong mga individual initiatives that you want to affiliate with UAP, or kung gusto niya lang mag-donate, then pagsamasamahin natin, then we can schedule once again, no? Pwede naman nating ituloy yun. There's no hindi kailangan ng specific program para makatulong tayo. Ayun. Yung ano pa ba?
Have covered naman na talaga. Again, I would like to say to our members na if you have any questions or kung meron kayong mga files na needed, it's in our website, or kung may kulangan kayo, please feel free to contact us sa ating what do you call this? Our UAP page. Parang we might not be very fast when it comes to replying din, since medyo work hours din kasi. But we will get back to you as soon as we can. That's why we have also made this website para yung mga frequently asked questions mo like transferring or payments or kung ano man, nandun na sa one-stop shop. So we parang yung instead of yung time na naghihintay kayo ng reply, baka meron na kasi doon. So yun ang ano lang din namin. So as a look ahead schedule then for our activities next month, Jonard,
Yes.
We have our HR speaker with regards to
okay, so next
for
month,
as a look ahead lang for next month.
So it's a sort of a preview na, no, kung ano yung what are we going to look forward to next month. So we'll be having Dr. Grace Canave. So she's an HR personality, let's say, under she owns Inkblood's HR services training and coaching. So she will be sharing more of dealing with our colleagues and our own companies, let's say, no. Ang aasahan natin doon, ang sabi niya dito, ang title ay Building on Strengths Moving Forward. Ayan, so something that we can look forward to, sabi nga niya. Ayan. So that's pretty exciting, as well as an upcoming event din, ay as an upcoming talk din dun sa ating next na GMM.
Yeah. So I think if all else is discussed, I would like, if there are no other matters that will be brought up by our members, meron po ba?
May ano pa, no?
Or meron po ba sa chat pads sa'yo?
Wala naman na.
Okay.
Nag-thank you na.
Okay, understandable. It's medyo late na din kasi. So I officially call this meeting adjourned. And I hope that you enjoy our evening, and I hope that you've learned something tonight. Thank you for the time. And I hope to see you all next month. So like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe tayo.
For our YouTube page din po pala. And then as an illustration din pala regarding dun sa contest, our jury pala of choosing the winner is not inside UAP Baguio. So we'll be inviting some architects outside. So we have yung ating if you've seen Architect Lian's video, yung parang recommended, we are going to try to invite Filipina architect, Architect Loridos Metilla. She's one of the groups there, yung mga kasama doon. She's into indigenous architecture in Davao. And then we will also invite Architect Nikita Abdullah from Pratt University. So sabi ko, medyo maano lang yan. Since she's all the way from New York. So yun din. And then also maybe Architect Refuerzo from UP Diliman. So yun lang ang din. Just throwing out names then for you to be interested. And please stay tuned with our contest dyan. So again, I would like to thank each and everyone for attending. Have a great evening, and then sana po mag-enjoy po tayo sa dinner natin.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
ito pala, before
Ay,
you...
yung pictorial
Oo.
pala. So, as ano, parang may mga nagpaalam din sa akin na naputol na yung ano, nag-brown out
Oo.
daw sa kanila. So, I would like to ask everyone to open their cameras then for a photo lang. Si ano na ang mag-ano dyan.
Screenshot natin.
So, sa
Okay,
akin,
so,
oo.
okay. Sige. So, stay put lang tayo, guys.
Okay.
Ay, wow.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
palang, hi Sam, nandiyan ka pala.
Okay. So, first round ng smiles natin. 3, 2, 1. Wag mo na magpapatay, ah.
Tignan nyo lang yung camera kasi ilang pages to.
Next is next page. Ayan. In 3. Mag-on na yung iba, Ma'am Shaimin. 2, 1. Asan na iba? Kate, Kayla. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, smile. Up, yeah.
Talagang
Alright.
ano, screenshot mo, talagang
Okay. Sige, maraming salamat. And Dave, Madam President.
Yeah, I officially called a while ago na adjourn na siya. So,
yes.
Thank you very much again for attending. See you next month. Hope we have much more clear with regards to PRC guidelines.
Also, ayan.
Magbabasa kami.
Thank you also.
Yeah. Thank you
Salamat
also for
din sa
Boysen. Boysen is our whole year sponsor.
Sa mga GMMs natin.
For our GMMs.
Maasahan na natin ng Boysen.
So there's a percentage from them, and then for contests din siguro sa kanila din. So again, thank you, and we're also going offline na from Facebook. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.